What is up, guys? Worldly here, and today I want to show you how you can do all the different types of flings in Divinity Original Sin 2. These flings have been a staple across all of the speedruns. They are basically the only reason we're able to speedrun Divinity in such a short time now. So there are actually 6 ways to do an item fling in Divinity Original Sin 2. However, only 3 of them are used in the speedrun. And 1 was used in the speedrun previously, but is no longer used, and 2 of them were never allowed to be used. So I'm going to be focusing on the 4 that were originally used in the speedrun, and then at the end I'll show you the 2 that were actually banned. The only reason I'm not really going to include them more in depth is because they were never really used, and they're not as good as some of the flings that are used today. So the main 4 types of the item fling are the frame cap fling, the Q fling, the super fling, and the node fling. So the first one we're going to be starting off with is the one that is no longer used, and that is the frame cap fling. It was used in one of my world records and actually at AGDQ in 2021. If you guys want to go see that video, I'll link it in the comments, but it is no longer used today. So we're just going to show that really quick and explain how it kind of innovated this whole process. Getting into the first fling, the frame cap fling, as the name suggests, we actually go into the settings and we're going to cap the frame rate to between 10 and 30. The lower the frame rate, the easier it is to actually pull off. So we're just going to go to 10, hit apply. Frame cap's enabled. Now, as you can see, the game's running like ass. In the recording, you can see see how the barrel kind of follows my mouse? Well, in the sense, we can drop this barrel and then fling our mouse way into the corner as fast as possible, and that will actually slingshot the barrel. I'll show you really quick, and then I'll explain why it's like that. So first, we're going to drop it and move our mouse. Boom. Super easy to pull off at 10 FPS. When I was doing the competitive speedrunning with Lumi, we tried to cap this a little bit higher, but it made it really hard on our shoulders to actually do this trick. So the reason that this works is because of the way the engine reads the inputs for moving an item. It requires 2 frames to move an item. The first frame calculates whether the object is actually allowed to move, so that is the white or the red text that says, unable, or object too high, or ground not stable, or whatever. And then the second frame calculates the XYZ position, so the longitude, latitude, and height. If we move our mouse fast enough, we can trick the game into thinking it was allowed to be put way up there in the corner. So that is how the frame cap fling works, and we're going to be moving straight into the next one. Now, the second fling is called the Q fling, or the inventory fling. And this basically allows us to put the object anywhere within our line of sight. As long as we're able to see the spot that the object wants to be placed, then we can use this trick to actually place the object there. But if you notice in our speedruns, we never play short characters because sometimes they couldn't see over the edge of the boat. So this was a problem in the older speedruns, so we weren't able to actually use the Q fling properly. It's really funny, so that's why you never see us play short characters. So there is a Q command in this, so that's QUE, and you can cue your character basically to walk wherever you want them to in a series of actions. First, you have to go into your options menu, go to controls, and then change the Q command right here to something more usable. It's normally right shift. I really wouldn't recommend using that. We just use Q. If you guys are fine with that, then just use that. So getting into it, the first thing you have to do is make sure that the reinforced crate is inside your bag. And then you're just going to pull it out, hold the Q key, the Q command key, and let go of your mouse. Now you're going to see it disappear. You want to pull it out once again and then drop it closer to your character, somewhere where your character doesn't need to move to, and let go of Q instead of your left click. So you keep holding left click, let go of Q, and you'll see that your character drops the crate or the item. The caveat to this is that your throw has to be within your character's line of sight. Doesn't matter how far it is, as long as your character can see it. So if you have nice, good high ground, you can throw an object really, really far, or if the thing you're throwing to is really high, like up here, it works really well. When I drop this object here, it's calculating if it's allowed and the position at the same time. So like the frame cap fling, it's calculating frames 1 and 2 here, but like our node fling, which I'll explain later, it's overwriting the XYZ position when we place it here. One of the reasons we still use Q fling today is because there's a lot of things you can't do while your character is overweight, and if you know anything about the speedrun, we basically fill the bag with 10,000 pounds of stuff. And just keep dropping it on our enemies. But there are certain instances where you need to move that bag, and it's just quicker to do a Q fling than to drop it and do a super fling, which I will be showing you next. And then there's other reasons as well, which I'll explain later. So the frame cap fling was founded by Ogam, and the Q fling was founded by Shiki. The next one we're getting into is the super fling, which was also founded by Shiki. Shiki has done so much for our community, like huge shout out to him. If you guys want to see some insane videos, go check out his channel. I'll link it below as well. Feel free to join the communities, hit that subscribe button, and I'll leave a bunch of links below if you guys have any interest in the speedrun itself. Now, let's get into the super fling. So, the super fling is super duper easy, and this is the one that is most used in the speedrun. Basically, all it is going into your options really quick. You only have to do this one time. Go to your controls, scroll down just a touch, and there's this interact button. Basically, all you have to do is change it to anything. I've changed it to my side mouse button here, and hit accept, and now you just use that button instead of your left click to move objects. So like this one here, it moves the object, but if you noticed, my character didn't grab the object. So like left click shows you grabbing the object, but alternate left click doesn't show you grabbing the object. So the position is calculated here on the first frame and then calculated XYZ on the second frame. Boom. Just like that. So you can move objects anywhere you want in the whole world, as long as you can grab them. So like if I go, oh, I want to throw this object over here. Oop. There it is. So that's super easy. There are a few caveats and there are a few reasons why it may not work. If you fail a throw like this and then try to fling it, it won't let you because it thinks the position calculation is over here. So it thinks, oh, the target is too far, I'm not going to move the object, because it's calculating that frame first. So sometimes it won't work if you move it like this. All you have to do is move it one more time, and then you can move it again as best you want. Now, the super fling was a monumental stride in Divinity speedrun, allowing us to pull off so many tricks, create instances where we would skip entire fights, entire cutscenes, entire like talking points, especially in like Act 3. With that being said, we're going to get into the fourth and final fling, and that is the node fling. As I showed you before, when you move an object to a red position, we'll call it red or white. So red position, boom, just like that. And now I can't move it. Well, if I were to pick up this object, and put it on the ground, if I try to do a super fling now, it goes to this position. Oop. Now that position is saved not only for that object, but for every object that we have. So if I drop an object and I do a fling again, I'm just going to do a save, because we can do things like set the position on, say, this Geist from outside of combat.
Please.
And then I can drop an object and I can fling the barrel. And we get into a fight because I'm too close. But as you can see, the barrel hit the Geist, and we're in combat. You could do this from much farther away. Wow, I have initiative. You could do this from much farther away and have a lot of fun with that. So you could be able to one-shot some enemies. Now I want to explain why the node fling is really important. With the super fling, we can move something anywhere in the act. But with a node fling, we can move something anywhere in any act. The maps in Divinity overlay, so the XYZ position in one map is the same in the next act. And when we set a position, say here, and we go to Act 2, it's on the Lady Vengeance and then the Dallas ship, we can use a position to set a coordinate for the next act, so we can immediately fling something like the teleport pyramid and go to the position we want. It's pretty convenient that a lot of the places we need to go in the farther acts are in the XYZs of the act before them. Somehow, you know, Shiki and the group, like Bazer and a couple of the other guys, they all figured it out. It was too big brain for me. You had to go into the like Divinity engine and like do some stuff to figure it out and pull up the maps and overlay them, and and now there's actually a fling visualizer thanks to Ogam from all the Baldur's Gate 3 stuff. So fling visualizer basically shows you if you place something in one act, it will show you where it is in the next act. So it's really neat. Maybe I'll get into that another time. but I'm sure I'm sure there's probably a video out there. Anyways, so that is why the node fling is so important. Now, the node fling can be super confusing, so I'm going to do a quick recap that's a bit more structured. The node fling has 3 conditions. Condition 1, move an object to a red position and set the node by dropping it. Condition 2, drop an item on the ground from your bag to set up the super fling. Condition 3, try to move any object using the super fling tech, which will send it to the node that is set by the red position in condition 1. Now the super fling has used the node, and you are free to use objects normally and have the positions reset so that you can set up for another node fling. Now, if you guys have been watching the whole time, you will have heard me at the start say that there was actually 6. So now I'm going to show you the 2 that are banned. Now, the first one that was banned was called the tab fling. And in Divinity, if you alt-tab, the game reduces itself to 30 frames per second. And like I mentioned before with the frame cap fling, if we lower this to 30, you can still technically do a fling. It's just much harder. Right? So I did manage to do it. But for the tab fling, you have to alt-tab on the same frame that you pick up the object. You'll hear the music stop if I get it correctly. There we go. Okay. Well, it took me a few tries because this is actually a really hard trick to pull off. But if it was used in the speedrun, it would have been really fast compared to going into your menu, changing it to 30 or changing it to 10 FPS, and then doing the fling, and then going back into your menu and trying to fiddle with all that. If we were allowed to do it this way, it would have been much quicker. So basically, the idea was to lower the frame rate with the alt tab so that we could do a frame rate fling. And I will try it here, but I don't know if it's going to work. There we go. So we're not even we're not tabbed into the game yet. So once I click, you'll hear the music start up. Okay, well, the music wasn't going, but you can hear the wind and the birds. But yeah, we flung the crate. So that was the alt tab fling. And then the other one, which was even crazier, was being allowed to resize the window and do a window fling. So just to quickly show this trick off, we have our game in window mode, and it's really simple. In the settings, you just have to change it so your mouse isn't bound to the box, but you can basically just drag this out anywhere that your character can reach, so the box is white, not red. And yeah, we can basically just go outside the window, let go of our mouse click, and go around the outside, and we can bring our mouse back in, and as soon as we do, you can see it does the fling across the screen. Particularly, what you can do even more is you could make the window really slim, and then that would allow you to go much, much further. Basically, it's the exact same as doing a frame rate fling, but instead of having to throw your shoulder out, doing a fling like that, you can just drag it around the edge and have that advantage of having an ultra wide. They banned that one because we just figured if you have to go outside the game in order to do some of the tricks, there ain't much point in playing the speedrun, right? So everything is done within the confines of the game, and this way you don't have to worry too much about learning it as well, right? It's not as hard to learn. So with all of that being said, that is all the different types of flings in the Divinity Original Sin 2 speedrun. It has been a pleasure showing you guys all these different tricks over the years and being able to provide some guides for the speedrun. And if any of you are interested, again, links down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. And as always, stay worldly. Good night, everybody.